Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us at the Story Cafe. I'm delighted to have our guest today, Cassandra Terry. So, Cassandra, welcome.
Thank you.
The theme for today, Origins and Odyssey. And it really is about the roots we all have and the routes we take to get where we are today. But when I think about Cassandra, she's been on quite an odyssey, and it doesn't fit into the time block of this kind of 20 to 30-minute episode. So I'm begging Cassandra to come back and share more time with us so we can get to hear the journey she took to get to where she is today. But today, I've compiled quick questions that gets Cassandra talking about who she is, what she does, and giving us insight and knowledge transfer, because I know she knows stuff that we want to know. So, Cassandra, once again, thanks for joining me. And without further ado, I'm going to ask you the first one.
Okay.
We want to explore what skills and insights from your corporate career you use in this coaching practice that you've built to serve so many people. Why don't you talk to us about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Thanks for that question. I appreciate it. And thank you for the invitation. I am excited to be here. Um, it's a great question, and it kind of digs right into the part of my story that I'm most excited to tell. You're right. I've been at IBM for 24 years in March. So over to working on my third decade. And so it's a place that I absolutely love. I've grown up there basically. And much of that career now has been in the management space. I've been in some sort of leadership, some sort of management for a good portion of those years. And so I was leaning on some natural abilities of some compassion and a real desire to work with people and help them hit their career goals and things like that, but nothing formalized. I even considered leaving and getting a Master of Arts in counseling because I was so pulled to that part of life and interacting with people. I started the journey, um, and couldn't imagine working that hard to get half the pay, so I changed my mind. But IBM opened up an opportunity for me that I never dreamed that I would have in corporate America. They started a coaching program. As you know, there's an awful lot of training. And they started this coaching program called Blue Core Coaching. And if you were interested, you could go through the program. It's built off of what the International Coaching Federation offers. However, because that federation isn't doing it, you don't get your certification. You get an internal badge that really only has any weight within the walls of IBM.
So I'm an ICF certified coach at ACC level with the first 100 hours, and then you go to
Nice.
500 hours, and then you get more as
Yes.
a master coach. So you're on the same track. Internal, you're doing the same
Internal to
thing,
IBM.
but you've got the same skill sets as somebody else that's outside and has the badge, so to speak.
Right. And so we got that internal badge. And so that opened me up within IBM to start coaching. I did apparently really well going through the program because they reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in going through the coaching supervisors program. And that's where we train others to coach and to help the next batch of coaches come along. So I've been doing that for maybe 4 or 5 years within IBM, and it has allowed me to expand my reach within IBM and get to IBM's a huge company. But because I'm a coach, I get to know people all over IBM because I'm in a database, my schedule's there. And if someone's looking for a coach, they could reach out to me. And so I've been doing that for several years, working with the program, training other coaches. But what made me passionate about it was me. I needed a coach. As long as I had been at IBM, and I know you kind of know my story as to how I got there, because of how I got there, I didn't feel, I don't know, there was a little bit of an inferiority complex that I had. My background was in recruiting and HR and operations and things like that. I wasn't a coder. And without that coding ability, I didn't feel like I really belonged. I didn't feel like I was as valuable. And I took that with me everywhere I went. So as my career was developing and I was getting more and more opportunities, and they were asking me to speak in panels and things, I just always wondered why. It didn't make sense to me. I kept waiting for the day where they figured out I didn't know as much as I thought I did. So I had my own mindset work to do. And in going through that process myself, And I went to therapy. I went deep into that process. Not I along with coaching, I did therapy to figure out where that was all coming from and what I could do to reframe it so that I showed up better. And so I've taken everything that I've been through, what my experiences have. I'm really transparent about them. I'm not a person that carries a lot of shame, thank God. And so without that shame, I can transparently say, here's where I failed. Here's where things didn't work. Here's what happened. Here's what I've gone through, which really aids me in being able to work with people. They see me, they hear me talking about it. And I want to be the person that says, there's another side to this. You may be in the middle of the storm, but you can get through it. And there's a great life on the other side if you just keep moving. So that's where
That's
the passion comes from.
that's beautiful. I think that the beautiful part of the story is the thing that we see every day as coaches, and it's a coach sees a person and sees the water that they're in, and the person that you're coaching doesn't really know that they're in water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
fact that people kept asking you to take the panel, step to the stage, and you were like, "But I'm not a coder. What do they keep at?" I think of the Johari window, the things I know about me that you know about me, and the things
Right.
you know about me that I don't know about me. And
Exactly.
it takes us all a great deal of self-awareness to finally acknowledge that other people see value in us that we might not imagine in ourselves, and we just need to lean into it and
Lean
go with
into
it.
it. Lean into it.
So thanks for sharing that little bit of story, and I'll put Johari window in the show notes, so those of you that don't know what the heck that is, you'll see it and you'll go, oh, that's interesting. Things that people know about me that I don't know about myself. Maybe I should open that window a little bit more and ask them, so
Exactly.
what is it you see in me? And why do you keep telling me I should be a coach? Or why do you keep saying that I should do X or Y?
Exactly.
Oftentimes it's because they know something that you don't know about you.
Exactly.
Second question, the interplay of mindset and leadership and how that plays into the work you do with solopreneurs and startup founders.
Love this question. So my tagline, I know you looked at my profile, is the voice within wins. And what I mean by that is what you believe to be true about yourself, what you believe you're capable of, and what you believe you deserve is going to set the tone for how your life unfolds much, much more drastically than any external circumstances. When we start talking about, so that's mindset to me. If you do that inner work and you have yourself properly aligned and you believe in you, then the rest of it is just academics. You'll do the work, you'll get where you need to go. IBM, and I'm grateful to have been at a company so long that puts so much in education and leadership development. We've had opportunities to train through at Cornell and other universities, as well as the internal IBM stuff. And there is this consistent know thyself. We had to know ourselves, understand what our triggers are, and then understand the value of our employees as well as our customers, because they were the two reasons why we exist. So if I was so busy climbing the corporate ladder that I forgot about my team and the people that were helping me accomplish the things that I accomplished, I was going to eventually shoot myself in the foot. If I was so busy making a widget that I thought was the greatest widget in the world, and I didn't put any thought into my customers and what their need was, I may have a big room full of beautiful widgets, but never meet the need of any customer. So part of leadership is, what are you focused on? What's important to you? Do you know yourself? Are you able to communicate well with what the mission is? Can you help set priorities and drive a team? So to do all of those things, you have to believe in yourself. If I come into a room and the team is waiting on some direction from me and I can't make any eye contact and I'm all over the place in the direction, the team's not going to believe in me. They won't believe in the mission, and thus our opportunity to be successful is diminished just by the way I showed up. So mindset is paramount to leadership. You have to believe in yourself, you have to believe in your company, you have to believe in the mission, and then you have to have the communication skills to deliver that to the team so that they get behind what you're trying to accomplish and we all move together. And I have to be invested in them and what it is they want to do, which is my favorite part. I have helped some of my best employees go elsewhere within IBM because their interest changed. One of my best leads on the test side was really interested in recruiting. And that's where I came from. It's what I knew. I never did it within IBM, but she was great at it. And so I went and talked to that area of the business, and I helped her make the transition from where she was with me to where she wanted to be. And she has built a fantastic program over several years now because that opportunity existed. If I was so afraid of losing her and what she did for me, and I held on too tight, I probably would have lost her even outside of the walls of IBM. Eventually, she would have found what she wanted to do, and it would have been a double loss. But it was a win-win. We trained somebody else that gave them the opportunity to grow their career. She got a chance to develop and go do what it was that was important to her. And she and I have a wonderful relationship. And she calls me for panels, discussions, and things all the time. And I know I can count on her to send me some great candidates when I have positions to fill. So it worked out great. So mindset is everything.
Mindset is everything. It's something I believe in and I talk about all the time is know thyself.
Yeah.
Benjamin Franklin, the American politician, writer, thinker, scientist, philosopher, he was a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
He said, there's three things hard in the world: diamonds, steel, and knowing yourself. And I think, but there's truth in that because, like the Johari window, the things that I know about me that you don't, the things that you know about me that I don't know about me, when I open those windows to be more open to what the world knows about me, how I am perceived in the world,
Mm-hmm.
how I move in the world, because like Ben Franklin said, the journey in life is not a solo experience. You know, the people, places that you encounter, often they show up in your life because they're guides, mentors, or helpers, helping you know yourself better. So be open to that and leverage that so you can do what Cassandra was just describing. It's important at IBM, but it's important everywhere to
It's
know
really
yourself.
it's really interesting that you mentioned that because the self-limiting beliefs thing is what really brought me into the mindset space because I had to do that work myself.
Ah,
On my wall is a whiteboard. It's a beautiful whiteboard. It's full of adjectives. One of the things that I did in working with my counselor was she asked me to interview a few of my friends. Just send out a message to a few of your friends that you really trust, that you know really know you, and ask them to send you 3 or 4 adjectives that describe you.
oh, nice.
So you talk about that window
Yeah.
because in that space where I was back then, I had a hard time finding the positive stuff. It didn't matter what I had accomplished, what people were saying around me internally. I wasn't experiencing those things. I was in a darker place. And so to have all of these positive words come back, and she was like, do something with them, put them on a piece of paper, keep them around. She was, you have to check that inner voice with the evidence. And the evidence of what I had put out in the world brought back some very beautiful adjectives that at that time I was not applying to myself. And now I look at them, I see them every single day because they stand as a reminder to know myself and to know myself fairly and fully. And sometimes it does take opening that window and getting that input from those around you.
Yeah, I like the way you say, check the inner voice with evidence. I have a
Mm-hmm.
friend that says, make that inner voice pay a toll, right? Make it
I love that.
right. You have to engage with it and say, you keep turning the station on the radio to this negative stuff. I'm turning it back and taking control of the radio. You can go along for the ride, but you're going to ride in the back and keep your hands off the radio because I'm not listening to you anymore.
Right.
Because the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves become ourselves.
Exactly.
And checking that inner voice, which is a saboteur in many cases,
Yes.
and checking it because you have evidence that's external to you. People that say these adjectives, these are the words we use to describe how we perceive you and how we have experienced you.
Mm-hmm.
Those words are our source material for the amazing each of us really are. But we can't find out how amazing we are to other people without being open and vulnerable enough to ask them.
Exactly.
And don't be surprised. Occasionally, one of those words is going to be, occasionally, Arthur's a jerk, right? It's like, okay. I mean, you have to acknowledge it because sometimes we are,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll find that you'll get much more value than you will get slings and arrows,
Right.
um, because you're asking people that you already know, love, and trust,
Mm-hmm.
and ask them for advice which is different than asking them just for a critique. Don't just send me words. Send me the truth of how you experienced me, and that will serve you well.
It will.
No question
Absolutely.
about it.
Yes.
So the next question is, how do you balance a busy corporate life? I mean, I've seen you fly from Texas to India and back again and still work with your mindset clients at the same time. The responsibility to be an IBM executive is huge. The responsibility to yourself and your family to have this other thing that you're passionate about, mindset coaching, is huge. Mm-hmm. 2 huge initiatives in one human body. How do you do it?
At least 2, because then we've got the family and all the other things that are other initiatives. The short answer is time blocking. I have time set aside specifically for the things that I have to do. I get up early, and everybody knows, including my management team, that from 7:15 in the morning till about 8 a.m., they're not going to get me. Even if they put the message on the calendar, they're probably not going to get me because I'm doing my live. That's when I do it. I gave it up for a little while.
Yeah.
And I gave up my exercise because I, moved into this new position and I was super busy. So I was just running replays and I was miserable. And I didn't understand why I was in such a bad mood. I thought I was tired, just trying to learn all the new stuff to do well in the new job. And then I realized it was because the things that mean so much to me outside of the job, I had put those things on ice and I needed them back to feel like my whole self. And so I told my manager that. I was like, I finally figured out why I'm such a grump. I'm not working out. I'm not doing my lives. I've got to take that time back. And fortunately, I've put in almost 25 years, almost a quarter of a century. So it does buy you a little bit of something. And I have a wonderful manager and he respected that. And so I start my IBM day right at 8. Sometimes 8:15. So because I do Tuesday through Friday, I have my Cassandra Terry morning show and I'm live. And on Monday mornings, I'm live really early at 6 a.m. Central with a group of folks, Motivational Monday. So that calendar is set.
Yeah.
IBM owns the hours from 8 to 5, 6, sometimes 6:30. So that's set. And then things in between, I block them. I block out everything on my calendar, including when I'm going to eat, when I'm going to rest, things like that. Otherwise, that time gets taken by somebody else. So I'm really intentional about my time so that I can not just be busy, but be productive, because there's a huge difference in the two.
Often, as I'm having a conversation with anybody in general, I end up doodling and creating a word cloud. Mm-hmm. I've got a lot of the voice within wins. That's something you said earlier. Time blocking is what you just talked about. Mm-hmm. Check the inner voice with evidence. Is something else you said. But I put intentional as the thing that floats above all those words. Mm-hmm. Because you're very intentional about what you just described, time blocking. And I think you're intentional about your being the whole of who Cassandra is. I remember 20 years ago, people would say, yeah, you got to focus on work and life balance, as if your life and your work were 2 different things.
Right.
Right. I've got a family, I've got my job, I've got my hobbies, I've got things that I like to do. And each of them had a separate bucket that people would try to nurture and care for. I think as time has progressed, we've gotten to an awareness that, no, that's wrong. Just you have a life and you work. It's all one thing and you don't separate them. It's integrate it and be intentional about integrating it. And then when you time block it, you can get it all done. You just have to make space for it. And the way a coach holds space for things that people want to talk about, we have to hold space for ourselves. And I think that's kind of self-care. It's being intentional about caring enough about ourselves and the things that we enjoy in life or need to do in life, and being intentional about scheduling a life that can accommodate all of those things. It can be done. And if you need help, call Cassandra. She'll show you how. This is the last question, which is amazing. Time flies when you're having fun.
Right.
And this one is lessons learned and advice for aspiring coaches, and advice for people that will be aspiring coaches from you, Cassandra, who's been a coach of coaching a family with lots of members, coaching a business with lots of teammates, and coaching coaches who coach people. you've got the bona fides to give us some insight on how to do it well. So what do you think?
I think the first thing that comes to mind as you were asking the question is to remember that everyone's experience is unique. In my early days, I was an advice giver. People always came to me and wanted to know my advice and what they should do about this, that, and the other. And I was immature enough to answer those questions from my point of view. Coaching has taught me that it's not about me and that my point of view is my point of view. That if I want to help somebody really be successful, I need to help them find their point of view, find what's going to work for them, and walk that journey with them, but don't superimpose what I think and what I feel so much into that process that they don't have their own unique journey, that they become some form of me and my thoughts. And that was the biggest aha moment I had when I learned my coaching journey. We had to read a book about the advice trap. That's the title of the book. And it talks about how we, if we're not careful, integrate too much of ourselves into other people's spaces, what we think, how we feel, and we thwart that person's ability to really grow and develop their own point of view. So that was huge for me. And it took a lot of burden off of me because now it's not about me and what I think and how I think you should live your life. It's me actively listening, asking you good questions, walking with you as you figure those things out so that you find the unique path that works for you. If that's your path and you find it, you're already bought in. You're much more likely to continue to walk it than you trying to mirror something that I've prescribed for you. So that prescription of methodology should go away immediately if you call yourself a coach.
Well, here's a question for you. An executive leader at a
Mhm.
huge corporation. How much of your coaching expertise and mindset informs how you lead the teams that you're responsible for?
It comes into play all day, every day. I'm working with individuals who, in the moment, we may be working on a particular project, but behind that, they have a whole life. They have their own mindset, their own doubts. Those things come up. And being aware of what that there's something more than what meets the eye, that we may be having a tough time for something that has nothing to do with what's happening on the table right now. Having that point of view helps me sometimes pull them aside, have a good conversation with them, make sure that they're okay. And then when they feel cared for and that someone's aware of them beyond what they produce, people who know that you care will go to the ends of the earth for you and help you be successful. And so that has been probably my biggest secret in being successful in corporate America. I care for my people so much that they care for me. And in us caring for each other, we've just taken each other on a journey and we've elevated and grown and accomplished together. I would have been great in was it the military, no man left behind. I've
Yeah.
got that mindset. I have that mindset. I care. And so that has probably been my secret sauce because sometimes in corporations, they don't teach that. They're not telling you to love on your people. They're like
Yeah.
production, the bottom line, those type of
We
things.
got a
But
quarterly
it's
number to make. Yeah. But
exactly, but it's the people who have to make that happen. And if you, as a leader, if you take care of them, they will more than take care of you.
I think those are wise words for sure, because team, the acronym, together we all achieve more, that
Yes.
together puts the leader in a position. I'm in this with you. And I learned a couple of years ago a great acronym. It's SURE, SHUR. And I think it is an acronym that really evokes the way you lead. I want people to be seen. That's the S. I want them to be heard, to know that I'm listening and I'm really listening to them.
Understood.
And I want them to know that when I see them, hear them, that I'm understanding them.
Yes.
I might ask them and repeat back to them so they know that I know what they just said.
Active
See,
listening.
hear, understand.
Respect.
And the R is respect.
Makes perfect. I've never heard that before, but it makes perfect sense.
And see, I said, I like sure. Sure has a nice ring to it. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I added a T in its shirt. Shirt doesn't sound nearly as cool, but it's trust, because if I see you, hear you, and understand you, give you my respect. And if I give you respect, respect is the gateway to trust. We can all see, hear, understand, and respect people so we can earn their trust. Those are human values. And when we engage those values to do those things, another acronym I love is ROAR.
Mm-hmm.
If you shirt, see, hear, understand, earn their respect, and get their trust, then you're really going to roar, because that's getting the return on the authentic relationship you just built. And if that's all you ever do with the team that you lead, with someone you're trying to sell to, or the family that you're trying to nurture and grow, you can't lose.
Love it.
This is just a snapshot of Cassandra Terry. She's got more stories to tell, and I made her pinky promise that she's going to come back and get more of that story about where she comes from, how she became the amazing Cassandra Terry that she is today. And I think in hearing her journey, we'll see in her journey our own, and hopefully we'll be able to stand on our own power and acknowledge that the people and places and experiences that we encounter that are not terribly different than the people and places and experiences that Cassandra's encountered.
Right.
And we can all accomplish more when we do that. So, Cassandra, thank you for joining me today. This has been delightful. It's not long enough, but I promised 30 minutes. I'm a little over time, but I'm glad that we had a chance to chat. She is coming back, people.
I will be back. Absolutely.
I know you want more of this, because she's got a lot of thoughtful, insightful, and compelling ideas to share to help us all be better leaders. And don't forget the notion that you're a leader, just like Cassandra's a leader at IBM. Wherever you are, you're leading yourself, and that's your first responsibility. And doing that well, that's know thyself. That positions you to serve the people that you need to serve, whether they're a team of people internal to your company or a horde of people that are the customers that you want your company to go and serve. First order of business is to know yourself. You need help with that? There's Cassandra, or you can call Art. We're both coaches. That's what we do.
Beautiful.
Until next time, people, thanks for tuning in to the Story Cafe, and hopefully you'll come back and hear more. And when you do, we'll be here for you. Until then, bye for now.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap.